we have to get back to our alignment. So, Shalom, blessed, blessed day, right? It's the feast of Passover. I believe it's the fourth or fifth day, and happy feast of unleavened bread. So we just took our unleavened bread earlier, and I just learned that we have to eat it with haste, right? So, gotta learn them slowly, properly, right? So we have to be what? Aligned with our spirit again, right? Back to the Most High, right? Let's go to Proverbs 4. Because sometimes we will get out of alignment and lose our balance, right? But we just have to what? Get back to His spirit, right? This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 27. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. Right? So how do you stop, how do you get back in line, right? It says here, remove thy foot. So whatever it is that's bothering you, stop it first, right? For example, you want to fix your laundry, but you suddenly feel the urge to do something sinful, right? So get back into the word by reading it and remind yourself, right? Proverbs 4 and 27. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Remove thy foot from evil. Right? Remember what Christ said when Satan was tempting him, right? For it is what? Written, right? For it is written. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 4 and verse 3. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. Next verse. But he answered and said, These are Christ's words. It is written, I repeat, it is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. Right? So every time you're being tempted, those words that are in your mind will align you, right? In other words, you don't step in the next step of temptation, right? Which is getting convinced for you to do sin, right? Because it starts first with being tempted, then getting convinced or enticed, and next is the actions, right? Let's go to James 1 and I believe that's 8 or 19. This is the book of James chapter 1 and verse 14. So this is how sin works, right? We need to know this first that we may know how to get back in line, right? Verse 14, but every man is tempted, right? Remember Sirach 2, when you come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for what? Temptation. When he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, right? So it starts first with what? Temptation, right? And then afterwards, our own lust, right? Whichever that may be, hatred, unforgiveness. Sometimes we just wanna let or burst out unrighteous anger, right? Anger that is not just, right? What else, right? you wanna pick up the blunt, right? You wanna do drugs, right? All of those things, right? You wanna hate your brother in your heart because it's convenient, right? We don't do that, right? And that's one of our own lust, right? And when it is entice means persuaded or attract or convince. This is the strong concordance. Allure, beguile, entice, delude, right? Delude can mean convince, I know, to mislead, right? To trick, right? That's how sin works, right? It starts from temptation, and it will discover first what you are lusting for, and then it will trick you into doing it, right? The same as how Satan or the tempter was doing it, right? Back in the previous verse in Matthew 4, verse 15. Then, when lust hath conceived, bring it forth sin, right? When lust hath conceived, I think this is actions, right? Because it has to come out, it has to be what? Shown, right? Conceive. To take part with, right? See. And that's where sin comes forth, right? And for the wages of sin is what? Death, right? When it is finished, bring it forth death. So every day you're gonna get tempted for whatever that lust may be, right? So you always have to get back in your alignment, right? There's because you can, you know, God will not, or the Most High will not tempt you that is above thy strength, right? First, He will not tempt you that is, excuse me, He will not tempt you something that is above your strength, right? And He will also do this, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13. There had no temptation taken you, but such as is common to what? To man. But God is faithful, or He believes in you, who will not suffer you to be what? Tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to what? Bear it, right? So you're able, the Most High God will give you an escape plan here, whether that may be going to the gym, going for a bike ride, right? Strolling at a park, right? Doing your hobbies, getting busy with something, right? That's how you must do in this thing. You may be able to overcome those things, right? But first, you have to remove your foot, right? Because you just need to walk straight on this path, right? Galatians 5 and 16. This Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16. This I say then, walk in the Spirit. I repeat, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not what? Fulfill the lust of the flesh. Right? You gotta just take it slowly, right? It's the same as riding for a bike. You don't rush things, right? When you're carrying a lot of stuff in your bike, you gotta take it slow, right? Because there's still a lot of those mountains in you, right? A lot of those negative spirits, right? That will um, disturb your mind, right? But if you walk in the Spirit, you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh, right? So that's how you do in this thing, right? You may not fulfill what? The lust of the flesh, right? The temptations of the flesh. So get back in alignment and get back your spirit to the Most High. Remove your foot from evil, right? One thing also that you can do is to examine yourselves, right? Whatever it is that you are dealing with, right? And pray for it so that the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai can help you, right? At the end of the day, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, the water for the edification, right? You just gotta keep meditating every day, right? Because anytime the tempter can tempt us, right? Within our minds, right? But if we have the right knowledge, right, to defend it, right? For it is what? Written, right? We can beat that, right? Let's go Proverbs 24 just to finish it out. You gotta understand what is biblical strength, right? This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 24 and verse 5. A wise man is strong. I read that again. A wise man is strong. Yea, a man of knowledge increaseth strength, right? So to defend yourself from getting tempted, you have to increase in what? Knowledge, right? Knowledge that is what? Useful. And knowledge that is useful is what? Wisdom. Let's go to verse 10. Verse 10. If thou faint in the day of adversity or trials or struggles or temptations, thy strength is what? Thy strength is small, right? So we gotta always um, gain knowledge, right? You can also gain knowledge by daily, by meditating daily, right? Because you will always remind yourself with the important stuff. Because if you daily meditate, excuse me, if you meditate daily, it's more easier to remember and use those words, right? Because what profit is in them of knowledge, right, if you don't use them? This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 20, verse 30. Wisdom that is hid and treasure that is hoarded up, what profit is in them both? Right? I read that again. Sirach, chapter 20, verse 30. Wisdom that is hid and treasure that is hoarded up, what profit is in them both? Better is he that hideth his folly than a man that hideth his wisdom, right? So you gotta clear out your mind by using that knowledge that you use, and when you use knowledge, it becomes wisdom, right? And you really need wisdom to get deeper into stuff, right? So that you may obtain that new knowledge, which is, I think, understanding, right? So we gotta build those knowledge, wisdom, and understanding every day, that when the temptation comes, right, you are well prepared, right? Remember, this is spiritual warfare, so you gotta gain enough spirit, right, to get you back in alignment, right? So that's what you will do. At the end of the day, all praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Amen.